Welcome to Girls of East blog. This broadcast was not intended for audiences under the age of 14 and those self-described as sensitive groups. If this does not apply to you, please continue watching and enjoy.
Okay, fucking movie.
Woo! House of Gaga. Yes.
Okay, so judging from the way you're lighting up from within, you liked.
Thank you. First of all, I am lighting up from within. I am lighting up from within. I liked it. I liked it, and I have reasons. I definitely have reasons why I liked it. I definitely have reasons why there's some things I did not like. I did not like everything, blanket statement, but overall I like it. I give it a 7.7. It actually ended up having a 7.5 in IMDb so far, but I think it's going to climb up a little bit more. So yes, so excited. What did you think of like overall?
Okay.
What's your score?
Okay, so I don't have a numerical scale. You know how there's these two Ubers on YouTube. One uses, I think, a numerical scale, and the other one is like, it's a good time with no alcohol required, or maybe it's a good time if you're fucked up.
Okay.
And my score would be, did I feel the need to, would I rather be with my cats right now? Or am I like missing them? Am I like, oh, can this be over so I can go back to my cats? Or can I sit through it?
Yeah.
So in that sense, no, I did not want to go home to my cats.
Okay.
But that merely means that it was entertaining, but not necessarily a good movie.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. You know, there's a little bit, I think one of the reviews that I watched said that it dragged, like the last 2/3 of it really dragged. But I also think that part of this is that they marketed the movie as, right, you want that draw of Lady Gaga because you want all the Lady Gaga fans to come out. So you're going to put the trailer together in a way that's going to be like Gaga, Gaga, Gaga. And obviously, like, that's why I went, because I love and adore her.
Gaga, it's Patricia Reggiani's story.
Patricia, yes, yes. But at the same time, which is, I think people kind of missed a little bit of the nuance that the movie is called House of Gucci. The movie is not called How I Killed My Husband or Fatal Attraction, or, do you know what I mean? So one of the reviews that I heard was when it got into past the snow cabin, like when they arrived in the snow cabin, like it just dragged until kind of the Gaga picks it back up with Salma Hayek. So when I was watching it, I was sort of aware of that nuance. So I was kind of waiting to see, like, okay, is it really going to drag for me personally?
You should have read reviews, honey. I mean, I saw some headlines. I did not.
No, I mean, I watched one review. It was just one, and it was a really good review. And because I wanted to be like, okay, what can I, look out for? And I've also been watching like Lady Gaga videos, interviews and cast interviews. Is it too hot? Is your tea too hot? I'm sorry, buddy. Lady Gaga interviews and cast interviews, and just as it was like announced that they were making the movie and stuff like that. So, I think that I was a little bit, I don't know, not more prepared, but I was just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna still go with my eyes and my heart wide open, but I'm also going to look for the things that Ridley Scott really did in this movie. And he just got done doing The Last Duel, which is another movie that I really want to watch because I heard good things about it. So,
okay,
and he has his own style. He has his own, this is the man that did Blade Runner. This is the man that did Alien, the first Alien movie. Mm-hmm. So he's The Last Duel. I mean, obviously he's got a roster that's even further than that. But what did you think about Gaga's performance?
I thought, honey, we should maybe lay out like a roadmap of how we're going to talk about this, because there's just, okay, so there's so much.
There's so much.
If we start getting into Gaga, then we have to get into Adam Driver, then we have to get into everybody. So I want to leave performances till later.
Okay.
I think we should start with, let's discuss like the film in itself, the way it was cut, shot, etc.
Okay.
Move on to the story of itself. I don't know the actual history. I was gonna look into it, but honestly didn't care enough.
No, I mean, that's,
yeah,
most people won't, right? You're just taking it as kind of face value of a story that they're telling.
and
right?
I want us to look at the love story because I think those are separate things, and I have separate opinions on those. And then I want to touch on obviously acting and the script, you know. Well, let's talk about the script in term when we talk about directing. Yeah. So, yeah. All right, let's get into like the entity of it.
Okay. So, where do you want to start first? You tell me. You tell me where you want to start.
So Ridley Scott, okay?
Yes.
I was the directing. The directing I didn't find particularly notable, like the shots. Nothing really stuck out to me as really beautiful or anything like that. I usually do not notice directing, but I do notice it when it's bad, right? Like when a shot doesn't make sense.
Yes. Yes.
This was like a fine director's job. This isn't like a Space Odyssey. This isn't Lord of the Rings where there's scope and scenes you have to, it's pretty straightforward in that sense. But let me talk about the cutting of the film. Whoever cut it was an intern. It must have been an intern who cut this film, especially the first act. People wouldn't finish their sentences before cut. It was so abrupt. I need to send them a chiropractor's bill. Like,
yeah.
No, I thought, okay, Ridley Scott is phoning it in. He is phoning it in with this movie. Like, this is just, he's contracted with the production company. He owes them something. And because this was so sloppy, it was stomach curdling.
Yeah. Yeah.
But apparently he acquired the rights to House of Gucci in like the early 2000s and has been waiting all this time for the perfect cast. Which I'm like,
I did not know that. See, that's news to me. Yeah.
Look, I edit 60-minute videos. I have some experience, whatever.
Exactly.
What happened in that editing? What happened there? And then the music choices, the music and the dialogue overlap? Say something if you need to.
I need to say something because it's literally my husband leaned over to me during the wedding scene where there was like that David Bowie song or something. And he goes, what is going on right now? Ruined. He literally goes, ruined the shot. And I go, yeah. And he even afterwards made a note. And he said, if they would have just chosen different music during that shot or no music at all and let us really experience the intimacy of the moment, he's like, that would have made me attached. I was already attached. That would have made me attached like 10,000 times more to them as characters than I already was. And I was like, yep, you're 100% correct. And I was like, yep, you're right. Ruined it. It was like I got slapped in the face with something so discombobulated. Like that was really dumb. Whoever did the music for that, no.
Fucking bad. Well, I mean, soundtrack, whatever that was awful, god awful. That's why I almost don't want to blame the directing. I don't want to blame Scott for this because all the things that he chose to shoot, I mean, there's some things that I don't think should have been in the film, but all of his, I can see how the script and the acting and all of this could have added up to a great film if they just cut it right, if the music were right. What the fuck happened in post? What happened in post?
We're getting post on the phone right now. Jenna wants to know what the hell happened. What were you guys doing? No, it's true. And that's why people, you know, I respect people's choices when they give movies like bad scores or whatever, because it's very nuanced. If you feel disconnected from the movie, if I just got slapped in the face with a stupid song, you're just like, listen, this just took me out of the experience. My suspended disbelief, right? I was in the experience, and now I'm being like, cold water is being thrown on my face. So I will agree with that. I will, in terms of the kind of the director notes or anything, I don't know if this is director notes, but I noticed what a huge part of this movie was wardrobe and how she looked. And I don't know if you noticed and if this was on purpose or not, but in the beginning, that first act of them falling in love, she's wearing a brown and white polka dot dress, which is could be purposeful or unpurposeful homage to Pretty Woman. So they're signaling rags to riches moment. Oh, and she's gone.
Oh, my cat.
They're signaling that doesn't fit in type, you know, and they obviously allude to it throughout the movie as well. I will call out one shot that I really liked. It's when they come back to Aldo's office and they're talking about all the knickknacks. And you see Al Pacino talking in the background, and then they zoom in on Gaga's face. And he says, "Don't forget, you would have been shoveling shit without me." And he's blurred, but you see the emotion, the tension in her face when she lights that cigarette, and you see her like, oh, I cannot believe you just said that. And now I'm pissed off, but I have to hold my emotion because I'm not going to fly off the handle. I'm like going to simmer on this. I really did. That stood out to me. Just how insulted and hurt she was by that comment.
Are we gonna move on to acting now? Because
we can. Yeah, we can. Sure. Yeah, we can.
No more. All right.
Yeah, I mean those are really my. Yeah, I agree with you. The cuts, the music. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I agree with you.
So acting, I think I remember the scene you're talking about, but the scene to me that I really liked in terms of they didn't go super heavy-handed in this where Daddy Gucci, Maurizio's father, meets Patricia, and just like all the subtle, like the silences and the looks of like the judging her, and how you can
feel it.
He doesn't say anything, but you know he is just, the energy is, Patricia is a shit. You're not marrying her. Like, yeah. They didn't even need that next scene. And then I like how he kind of warms up to her and she tries to win him over. I thought that was my favorite scene in terms of acting. But in general, Lady Gaga was good. She was good, but she almost was like, if you took a photograph, like an old photograph with the sepia color, and then you pasted in a character from 2021 in that same garb, in that same like attire. It was almost like a very campy version of a character. And that was like, I almost feel like she and Jared Leto are on the same plane of the type of character they're playing, and that they're both like campy, and especially the way they dress her. And then the other characters are like trying to be serious, except Al Pacino is also comical. The tone was just really inconsistent with this film. And I know we're talking about acting, but
no, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, I felt that for Gaga's character, right? Patricia, from what we know of her being, you know, she did this crime. She's not sorry she did it. She, actually, I read that in prison, they offered her a work release program. So you can work and basically get released early. And she said, I've never worked a day in my life and I don't intend to start now, and stayed in prison. So this woman is very prideful, right? This woman has a lot of that like Italian pizzazz in character. And I think also, you know, I grew up, my mom wearing big hair and the tchotchkes and all of that. So I noticed right away, like how in the beginning she was more simple, plain, right? The polka dot dress, and then the campiness, like you said, the jewelry, like dripping in jewels and big kind of fashion, high fashion elements to this. And I think it's for us, we don't have that fashion anymore, right? Our fashion is almost less is more, less, a lot less, almost like roll out of bed less, versus back in that day when it really was like, it was campy and it was obnoxious. And my mom did wear like chained belts and just the craziest things that you're like, why would this is like a costume. But I really liked, going back to Gaga, I really liked her performance. I was looking for, because I have seen her before in concerts, I've seen her interviews, I was looking for, and I always look for like elements of Gaga. So the way that she walks, the way that she talks, the way that, like, where is the character and then where is Lady Gaga? And the only Gaga moment I saw is when they were dancing in the beginning and she like did her like head. I was like, ah, that's Gaga. That's not Patricia, that's Gaga. That's that like throwing her head around. That was the only time, which is not a big deal, but that was the only time where I saw, or like I was like, oh, that's Lady Gaga. That's not like what the character would do, you know? So I thought she did a really good job. I know the accents, once again, like were jarring for some people. That's just kind of another note that I've heard. But at the same time, I didn't feel like once you got used to it, you know, and I hear people butchering Russian accents all day, all night, every day, almost every show, right? So for me, I was like, well, I don't speak Italian, so I can't tell you if this is egregiously overdone or not. But once I kind of got used to it, I don't know. It didn't like really bother me. You know, in the beginning, I thought that Adam Driver did a really good job as well. And the chemistry, that was another note from my husband too. He was like, their chemistry is really good. Like their energy between them. Oh man. And the sex scene.
What the fuck was that sex scene? What was that? That was
that some Gaga booty, which I mean, you don't have to pay to see that. It's everywhere.
That's why I give it a don't go home to your cats out of 10. But like, it started, she just starts gyrating and then it was the most unsexy sex scene I've ever seen.
Yeah, her like screaming, I was like, oh, okay. I loved what was happening. I didn't love the sounds that were coming out of it.
No, facial.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was not pleasing. It was stupid. I'm happy I saw some ass though. I guess that makes up for a lot of the film. But Adam Driver, to me, I thought it was like this is why I wish I had looked up the actual story. Because first of all, holy shit, are they doing dirty to these historical figures? But that's another discussion.
Yeah.
If his character was really inconsistent to me because he's bookish, yet he plays rugby like effortlessly, and he's this giant-esque man. You know, I found that really kind of, and how he didn't want to dance, and then suddenly he's this dancer. There was just some inconsistencies about the character that I didn't like. And Adam Driver's accent, he almost took me out because, like, Gaga was really, really hitting it. Al Pacino was really hitting it. Jared Leto, in 3 minutes I will get to that. But
in 3 minutes.
In exactly 3 minutes. But like Adam Driver, it was kind of underwhelming to me because he didn't exactly hit it. He was the one, if anybody, who took me out of the movie because he didn't commit to the acts. Like he didn't, and I get that he's not gonna have that same swagger, being more of a bookworm.
That's a great word, swagger. I agree with you. Swagger. Yeah.
Yeah. But there was he didn't. I didn't buy him as an Italian. If that, I didn't.
That makes sense.
And it's funny because the lawyer, right, Domenico, completely no accent, plays it straight like American speech, English speech, whatever. And he didn't take me out, despite the fact that he didn't have an accent, because I'm like, okay, he's the really serious one here. So he's not, they took out that Italian swagger to take away his seriousness.
Mm-hmm.
Or to magnify his seriousness.
Yeah.
So that made a lot of sense to me. So yeah, he was that character for me. Adam was that character for me that I liked him. I think the casting choices are just kind of weird. It's not that I don't think Gaga did a good job, but I feel like if this was supposed to be a non-campy, realistic film, she was not a good choice for that.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't do a good job, but because she was so larger than life, that it made this. It just.
But is it because that's the thing? We don't know. We don't really have a lot of backstory for the central character.
Yeah.
Like we don't have anything to compare to, because if she's like that, I mean, what I know of her is that she's prideful, she's arrogant. I've watched an interview with her where she was like, not sorry I killed him, would do it again. Like she currently is pissed off at Lady Gaga that she played her in the movie and didn't have the audacity to come talk to her. And Gaga herself said that Patricia wants herself to be portrayed as this, like, I don't know, femme fatale or whatever, if that's even the correct word, but like this like notorious killer, infamous notorious killer. So this woman is very prideful, very larger than life attitude. So once again, like, I don't know.
It wasn't attitude. It's the way she was dressed.
That distracted you. Yeah.
It distracted me. It's kind of like a Pomeranian, a pink Pomeranian in a black and white movie. It just, her wardrobe was screaming at me so loud. When they started to dress her more like old money in Act 3, that's when I was like, okay, now she is a little bit disappearing into the role. Not anything to do with her acting, impeccable. It was the visuals. It was the close to the ground, yet tiny not wasp face, but tiny hourglass shape. Like, it's just very comical. She was a comical character, and she was very funny.
Yeah.
She was very good.
Yeah.
I like that. And then Al Pacino hit it.
Quit it.
Hit
it.
Daddy Gucci hit it.
Hit it.
I found the actors. Sorry, injustice, and who else?
Jared Leto.
Oh,
Leto.
The 3 minutes have. What the fuck was that? What is this? The adaptation of Mario, Super Mario Brothers? Is that what we came to see?
Papa.
Okay, like, this is where the tone is just utterly fucked. I'm sorry. I apologize, okay. But the tone. What is this character? Every time, it's not. I was not entertained. I was not entertained.
So
but
you were entertained, because that's a double negative.
Okay.
Grammar brought to you by.
I would love a standalone with him. And like,
no.
Like, no. It's just this again. It's kind of like Gaga. These were these isolated characters that when you put them in what is supposed to be a serious biopic,
Right.
It's like
But
adding.
once you cast Jared Leto, you can't uncast him. Even if throughout filming you're like, this doesn't really jive, you're not going to take that big of a megastar away, right? Because it's about clout, it's about recognition. Unfortunately, I'm just saying, unfortunately, from a production money standpoint. So I have heard that feedback that his character was just over the top and weird and actually does not match the real Paolo that was in the family at the time. So, yeah,
honestly,
they did him dirty. They did him dirty, like you said. Like they didn't do justice to that.
And I mean, in general, I think we're so used to Jared Leto and prosthetics and stuff. And this reminds me of like Charlize Theron in Monster, where a beautiful girl was made down to play this crazy woman. And why do they keep taking freaking a stud like Jared Leto? Not saying anything
about Leto. I don't know. I'm freaked out.
Maybe that was the only other Italian they could find, right? So they're like, okay, we got to put him in. And obviously it's an ensemble movie. So the draw of this movie is we're not going to put effort into cutting it correctly. We're just going to have a bunch of really good brand name stars.
Yes. Al Pacino, definitely. I think it was Jeremy. I forget his last name. The guy that played the OG Papa.
Yeah.
Mauricio's Papa. He's a huge name too. So I agree. I think that was, oh, do I have lipstick?
No, I'm just greasy.
Oh, I thought you were like telling me I have lipstick on my.
No, I'm just, you know.
But yeah, I think that this was a fail. Now that we're really flushing it out, I think that the kind of combination of the haphazard cutting and then terrible music, and then we have this really over the top, just like, why are we putting so many prosthetics on Jared Leto? Like, he's pretty. You could have just made him a little less pretty, but you didn't have to make him into a new person. I don't really understand that. Like, why go through all that? Like, Gaga looks like Patricia. Adam Driver does look like Maurizio or whatever. You don't have to, but Al Pacino doesn't look like the actual what's his name, Aldo. He doesn't look like the real life character, because the family has actually come out and said, what, this person doesn't look like my grandfather. My grandfather was tall, handsome, not looking burnt out. I mean, literally, that's kind of the quote of the family member that came out against this movie. So you're right. Like, there's no reason to do all that.
There isn't. But it's kind of like, why hire Jared? If say this character was like a grotesque species of thing, and they had to do him like that, why not give an ugly? Let's talk about representation. Where are the ugly fat guys getting their?
Yes.
What a great opportunity to like maybe another Seth Rogen or another I mean, Italian, of course, but like give another underdog a shot to do that role. But because they went with 100% an ensemble star-studded cast, they took away those elements of realism, those elements of like actually us being submerged in the movie, because they're like, hey, people want to see famous people do campy shit. People are coming in for the famous people. That's it.
So I was just searching to see if Jared Leto is Italian or not. Yeah. And literally, when you search, the first headline that comes up, Jared Leto's Super Mario Italian accent in House of Gucci mocked. So it's not landing very well for. Yeah, I mean, he was born in LA, so Jared Leto is not.
But is he by blood? Is he anything? Because, I mean, one drop rule in America, right?
I mean, he just says he's an American actor and musician, so.
But with the last name, he could probably, if somebody didn't want to do a deep dive, he could probably get away with that.
Maybe. But I don't know if Leto's a Italian last name. It could be. But yes, I see what you're saying. I agree with you.
I want to leave like the outrage to the Italians in Italy. I don't think we really like we
Yeah.
outrage that he ruined the tone of the movie, not necessarily the acts. He didn't ruin it, but just the tone was all over the place.
Papa, Papa, I cannot believe I did this to you, Papa.
Like if it was again super bad, a sex comedy, like that's the perfect place for him. That's where you drop him right in. Okay, I'm sorry. Did we beat this to death well enough? Jared
I
Leto,
think so.
certified dead.
Certified dead.
Okay, so that was
Now that we've certified it, now we can move on.
we can move on.
Yeah, so I think there were such high hits and there were such low misses. I think that's the problem with this movie overall, is that there were such good, like, okay, I can forgive the campy costuming because there's good acting from Lady Gaga. Adam Driver, okay, I can kind of forgive the accent. There's good chemistry. Al Pacino, there's consistency, he's absolutely fantastic. And then we just like take such a deep dive with Jared Leto's character that it's like, ugh.
You know what though? Like Al Pacino and Jared Leto's character, they were almost kind of the heart because they were the ones getting betrayed and everything.
Yeah.
So when like in that scene when they're signing away the rights, that had me a little bit.
Yeah, when he starts like crying, when he has that moment. And I think too, when the guy says, you're kind of this like titan of industry and I respect you so much. And, this is such an honor doing business with you and like the end of the era. And he's like, please stop like patronizing me. Like, and those shoes. And I think this is a very important other part of the movie that I wanted to bring up, if I may, the House of Gucci part of this, because this is, and I think for a lot of people that are maybe not in the fashion industry, this is a history lesson in one of the iconic brands that we have today. I mean, this is on par with Versace. This is on par with Chanel. This is on par with Yves Saint Laurent. Like this is a fashion house. And I think a lot of people are so used to brands and fast fashion nowadays that they lose the significance of what it is like to have that legacy of fashion. Because there was a time in that 80s, 90s, like saturation where we had such a boom of creativity. We had such a boom of innovation in fashion, right? So everything we have now is sort of, we're kind of looking back a lot, right? We're recycling a lot of the trends. And as somebody that has loved to obviously I've worked in different aspects of fashion, this movie, exactly having that heart moment that this is an end of an era. This is an end of a family sort of fashion bloodline, if you want to call it that. And I think that's the problem that some people had with the movie. That's where it lagged, is it became a little too businessy for them. Well, yeah, okay, but at the same time, we're telling the story of House of Gucci on par with telling the story of Patricia and how she contributed to the history of the House of Gucci. And that's kind of the lens that I tried to view this movie as, that this isn't, yes, this is a love story in the beginning, but for me, this is a time capsule of a fashion empire at a time where it was getting hit from all sides. We see that nobody wants to work with them, right? We see that fashion moment where it's like, no designer is gonna come work for you. Gucci is outdated. Gucci is too stale. Gucci is not progressing in a forward manner as a brand, as a fashion house. And to have Tom Ford, who is now, I mean, hello, Nocturnal Animals, fashion house of his own, legacy of his own, to have Tom Ford really come and innovate and push this brand out of its, dusty place on a bookshelf. To me, I really love to see that part. I don't know. I liked seeing the business side of it. I liked seeing the actual thought process behind it, of how they, I wish they would have that's me. That's the nerd in me. Like, I wish they would have gone into a little bit more of how they designed that collection, because, it changed so many things for the brand. But
for me, I'm like, there was not enough fashion. This was just so much.
I see. Yeah. Like I agree with you. Like, I wish they would have done more. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in my opinion, there was no motivation for us to root for any singular character. I was almost, rooting for, who was it? Was Jared Leto's character Paolo? Was that Paolo?
Paolo. Yeah.
Paolo. I was rooting for him because he's the only one who even mentions design and fashion and like it's a legacy brand.
Yeah.
I think the blood should have come from within. In fact, I know that the resurrection with Tom Ford is like this pivotal moment and everything, and it changed things. But for me, when at the end they read the credits, or not the credits, the pre-credits, the ending scene when it says there wasn't a single Gucci member at Gucci, I think, why the hell would you want people to know that? Why is that something to be proud of?
Well, I don't think it's something to be proud of. I think that they were just saying like this was the end of the era. Like, yeah. This is like kaput. This is done. This is done. Like,
but on a advertising or just on a marketing level, there's just more intrigue when it's a dynastic, passed on business. And now that it's just publicly owned.
Yep.
Owned.
Yep. And the two granddaughters, so Maurizio's two daughters, when he died, at the time he died, he was worth $400 million. And so they inherited, I believe they inherited his stock of Gucci, but they certainly inherited his yachts, penthouses, all of that stuff too. So the two girls, it was actually two girls that they had, not one. Oh. And I was confused by that too. I was like, why? Where's the second child?
Extra screen time.
Yeah. So, I think, and that's the thing is, people don't, when we reference like The Devil Wears Prada, when she says, you think that blue belt, or you think that whatever you chose is what you chose. Well, it was chosen in this room by these people. Mm-hmm. And I think most people just don't really care to understand the inner workings and the back workings and how much truly goes into designing a collection and keeping together an iconic fashion house. What's quintessentially Chanel? What's quintessentially Versace? What's quintessentially, YSL? I mean, I'll shut up. But like, YSL made what we now know as the coat. So that triangular shape of the coat, that mm-hmm. was first made by Yves Saint Laurent. Like, that was not worn before that. That was not produced before that. And he like pioneered, when we have Chanel with the stripes, right? Like that kind of boyish, sort of feminine and boyish aesthetic of her being such a rebel and wearing pants at a time where you couldn't wear pants and people, were so shocked. Like, there's so much that goes in the back end of these things. And that's what's exciting to me, to learn about and to see. And I think that they should have included a little more magic, I guess, instead of this kind of, but I mean, that was what was happening at the time. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. This is a separate conversation, but in my opinion, when the designer of a house dies, like when Chanel died, that should have been it for it. That should have been it for her. The fact that other people are coming in and kind of trying to re-inspire and reignite that image, it seems false to me. So that's why I always thought there was some stake, there was some blood stake in Gucci, and now knowing there isn't, it takes away the fantasy. Because imagine this happens and then the daughters carry it on.
Yeah, I think Versace is the only one that still has Donatella, and I believe like the original, and then I think the Dolce & Gabbana the two creators of Dolce & Gabbana are still there. But Balenciaga, if I remember correctly, is relatively Burberry. Burberry's old as well, but I think they've always had, like, there isn't a Burberry like person, you know, or a family, I don't believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's complicated. That's a pretty revolutionary thought, to just have it end with, you know, with that. I don't know. But they're interested in making money, and that's what ultimately the movie comes down to, ultimately what it always comes down to. And that's why fashion industry is such a meat grinder, because you can have great designs, you can have great ideas, but people are just, they're interested in making money. It's not so much art. You know, when we saw Alexandra McQueen really brought kind of back the art and the whimsical of fashion. That's what I consider. But, you know, he sadly passed away. And now, is it the same? No.
And if you've seen any of like the recent collections, I've been watching some of the runway collections, and you know, I don't, because I haven't been following them, I look to the comments for what the people who actually know what they're talking about say.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, ever since his death, it just hasn't been as fresh. There has not been a fresh collection, because obviously the visionary is dead. Why do we think like, when the designer dies, that should be it. The house now is like a museum. It stays where it is. It continues to put out what it did, but it cannot innovate, because you cannot design from the grave.
Well, and I agree with you, and they have archived a lot of his collection. And I do, you know, there's Lady Gaga that will wear like archived Alexander McQueen or archived Versace. And actually Versace just recently came back out with the iconic regurgitation of the J-Lo Grammy dress. Do you remember that like jungle dress with the deep cut?
Yeah.
Iconic. And they had her close the show in the same dress, like, or some modification of it. So yeah, it's really sad that there's really nothing new under the sun anymore. And my husband and I were talking about this too. And the only time that I think there was anything that shook the fashion industry was Kanye West. And you can disagree with me, but when he came out with Yeezy, when he came out with his like monotone, monochromatic, that like pastel, I hated it. But that like paved the way to this unkept pajama blend with the wall aesthetic. Right?
Yeah.
And ever since then, all you've seen is like modifications of that. Mm-hmm. And what he did is, funny enough, he actually went to Shia LaBeouf's house and took all of Shia LaBeouf's clothes that were all like faded, dirty, like unkept clothes, and he got inspired for his own collection from that. That's why Kanye's aesthetic is like, it's like $400 shirts that look like you just woke up.
Yeah. And
this very like square silhouette, very shapeless, very, you know. But anyway, we digress into more fashion. But yes, as for the movie moment, where are we at now? We talked about characters, we talked about director, cinematography, shots,
acting. We did
motivation. So why do you think?
Well, story. Let's talk about the actual story.
Okay, story.
All right. As a story, I think I took notes on this.
I would expect nothing less. I want the notes.
So it's a rags to riches tale for Patricia. It is also a rise and fall tragedy, akin to Scarface. And when I was watching it, I was very much comparing it with Scarface, because, you know, another American movie portraying an Italian experience. But they knocked it out of the park in Scarface. They made it like it truly felt Italian and yet American. And this movie felt like Americans in Italy. Did it feel like that to you? Or the Amerification of it.
See, I could be neutral on that point, because once again, I'm just not familiar enough with the culture to be able to say like what is, because American culture. I'm sorry, what
I said, trust me, the most Italian thing about it was when they asked for espresso. That was the most Italian thing about it.
Yeah, I felt, yeah.
Bomb set spike. Over.
Spike.
But so with the story, I think as a rise and fall, I mean, it was almost kind of, it seems like an oversimplification of history, because I would like this at the end of the day to be a history. And the fact that it was kind of a tale of a woman behind the scenes who orchestrated all of this and was really behind her husband's success, I think the way that they portrayed it works out. I think that the kind of karmic elements of everybody getting what they deserved was there too. I don't really have much to say about the story other than it was quite cliche.
I mean, for me, it was a story of a starter wife.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. That was in my notes. I'm like, this is a starter wife.
This is a starter wife. This is a cautionary tale for every woman watching this film. Okay? You got to make sure your name is on all the shit all the time, everywhere, and you have a separate bank account that he may or may not know about, preferably not know about. So, this is exactly it. Is she pushed and he was like, no, I'll think about it. And she, at the very beginning, when he says, she's like, what's your name? And he's like, Maurizio. And she's like, what? And he's like, Gucci. Like, you can see
the light.
That she clocks it.
Yeah.
And listen, at the very beginning of their life story, which is true, he did not have money. He did not have status. He did not have, the bond between them was real. They were really genuinely in love. He really loved her. They were poor. They did not, but at the same time, just like if I married a Gucci that was out, that last name eventually will pay for itself, right? So I think I agree with the premise that she was not a gold digger, but I think she was a gold visionary. That's my
investment, and she could wait. She was very
could wait. Yeah. I think she was hungry for the opportunity, and especially in that scene when Aldo says, you would have been shoveling shit without me. You can see how dejected and how just offended she is by that statement, because it's like, listen, I have been working for my dad. I have been, what do you, and she was very just hurt and angry by that statement. And I think that was her motivation of, oh yeah, watch me. Now I'm going to go after it harder, better, faster, stronger. And I'm going to dethrone you. And I'm sick and tired of these people not taking me, including my own husband, not taking me seriously, not taking the business seriously, and not taking the vision of Gucci seriously.
Mm-hmm. I thought the motivation for her to go, to completely start backstabbing everybody wasn't, that scene that you keep pointing out, it didn't stand out as much to me. I don't know why. But I'm like, that would be great motivation of, continually being, when they don't take her seriously when she talks about the fakes. I wish there was more motivation of why we care about that. And because I was like, why are you suddenly turning your husband against all of his family? Why is this the way that you see?
I think greed, and I think to prove them all wrong. And there's nothing more flattering when you look around and you're like, oh, I'm in a room full of incompetent people. Okay, I'm going to take this into my own hands, and I really can. And I'm going to rise above all of them and spit in their face when I'm at the very top. I think it's just basic things of greed and having the vision and seeing yourself at the top and being, to walk into a Gucci store and have anything you want. You're like, great, I want more. I want it all. And I think that was the scene with the psychic, when she was like, you have to be more specific. And she said, will I be successful? And she said, you want it all. So yes, she wants it all. She wanted the name, she wanted the power, she wanted the money, she wanted the husband, she wants it all. I think she just is insatiable in her,
But also, where does she get like this killer instinct, that her husband lacks? By the way, I read on Wikipedia that Patricia doesn't know her father, but her mother married like a rich tycoon of sorts. So just like little things missing from the film.
Yeah.
Obviously, like an impact on you.
Well, and Lady Gaga too said that when she was researching the role, she found out that Patricia's, the trucking company did participate in some illegal activities. Okay. So see, kind of like how the dad was like, they're transporting for the mob, like so I think there's some hustler aspect to her that she was just like, okay.
Got you. Okay. So anything else for the story that we want to mention?
I mean, I think that, why do you think that Maurizio was over her? Like, why do you think he...
I want to, when we talk about love story, this is just like, this is the...
Okay.
We're
the
focused
arches.
The like family drama element of like the House of Gucci element right now. Not that I will deep dive into that.
Okay. Okay.
I thought in general, like as a story, the characters were all unlikable and you're not rooting for anyone, and it's I'm not understanding how this movie is not like kind of an embarrassment for the family. It's not like,
well, it is. I mean, they don't like the movie. They don't support the movie.
I couldn't grab my head around that because I'm like, how are they making this movie when the fashion house is well and alive and thriving? And now that I understand the separation between the family and the brand now, I also have to ask, how is this good for the brand? That you started.
I want immediately a Gucci belt, and my husband and I want matching ones. Like, it's happening. Like, looking it up and pricing it out. I have to have a Gucci belt. So
okay, so you wanted it. Okay,
I wanted it.
It seemed like a fucking like pigs in shits fighting. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. Nothing more to say about it.
Nothing more to say.
But, all right. The love story. The love story. Okay. I think it was very well done. It was realistic. And it was almost an Adam Driver. This is where Adam Driver did really well, in that I could follow so well how he fell in love with her when she was magical to him. When things started getting a little bit, and when things went bad. Like, I could follow all of that from his face. And you could see the state of the marriage. And Lady Gaga was Patricia was consistent. She consistently felt the same, She was kind of a simple person in that way. Watching this kind of reminded me of my parents' marriage.
Whoa! Ayo.
obviously it wasn't worse, but I'm saying it was kind of the two really unlikely people falling in love. Somebody who's a socialite, somebody who's kind of a bookworm. And I immediately knew when she faked being in the library with the book that I'm like, I just knew, oh, this is not good. This is not going to be a compatible match. He will be charmed in the beginning by all of her eccentricities and her pizzazz and her vivaciousness, but all of these things he will come to hate in her later on. And I also think their meet cute at the party and then her later stalking him down to find him, God really is in the movies. He really does open your eyes to your own life situation.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just that they were clearly these two other worlds colliding, and they were not meant to meet. They were not meant to mesh.
Oh, Zheng, I'm sorry. Did you see? We have like a minute. We have less than 2 minutes left on our live.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, so we have to jump back on?
Yeah, I think we do.
Yeah, that was annoying. I have a headache. Okay.
We're almost done anyway. We're almost done.
So you think?
I have to go cook, sister wife.
Well, sister wife, take one for the team. So as I was saying.
As you were saying.
Cut. As I was saying, they are these two different worlds colliding. Even though, honestly, she fit in perfectly well into his family, he was the only one who was kind of the stuck-up lawyer, the bookish lawyer. But let's just say that their social statuses are so far beyond anything. And they met, they maybe experienced a little bit of magic, but then he leaves. He leaves, right? He doesn't ask for her contact information. He very well, right? No, he doesn't. So she has to go and chase him down, fucking fake a meet cute, another second meet cute. And, it's funny that they don't show us how that really happens. They kind of cut to them on the bike. I thought I like that they showed a woman kind of going after what she wants, but it wasn't. She could have asked him out that very night, right?
Yeah.
But it turned into a thing that she had to orchestrate a situation in which they would, in which she could find a way to sink her claws into him. And to me, that was a message to me, in that don't go after things that are not for you. It will not end well for you.
Yeah. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be.
Because what does he, again, she's like a novelty. She's he's not used to. But what does he do? At the very end, he goes for his childhood friend who he has known, and who has that same kind of wallpaper tendency like him, to be bland. Like, eventually he cannot handle the spicy firecracker. So to me, that really hit for me. And but otherwise, the love story, very organic, very nice, very good chemistry. And you can see the moment where he falls out of love with her. It's during that fight. It's during that fight where he kind of tries to put her in her place and be like, don't meddle into men's affairs.
Yeah, don't interfere with Gucci anymore because I have to like fix your messes kind of thing.
Yeah. And then this is where she loses her cool, and she, like, we think she's prideful. How about Mauricio? I know we think of him as like a soft man, but hearing what she said to him, which was like, you would be, I've been doing everything. You are a weak man. She's saying things that are true, but had she played it smarter, he wouldn't have fallen out of love with her. Because this goes back to Shallon Lester and her, what is it, shadow self theory, right? She was feeding his shadow self of, you're the true Gucci heir. You're going to revitalize this brand and save it. Like, let's take out the trash.
Let's take out the trash.
Time to take out the trash.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And had she stuck to kind of gassing him up from behind the scenes, she could have been the ultimate puppet master. But
she played it too hot.
She played it
fast.
And I understand that as women we get cut down a lot, but it's like there is no messing with the male ego unless you're a suicide bomber, honestly.
Yeah.
So when you asked earlier why did he fall out of love with her, it's because she built everything up. She built it. She behind the scenes was maneuvering it. He let it happen, but she did the dirty work and he got all the dividends.
Yep.
He got all the dividends, and yes, he could look at her and be like, oh, Patricia, you got me in a mess, and la la la, but I'll take care of it. I'll smooth things over. Had she let him be the hero, it would have gone very differently. But her pride was such that she couldn't let it go. And also we know that this goes back to starter wife theory, right? You don't want to be with the one who sees you struggling, who sees you at your lowest point. So she saw him as the weak man. She realized, I have to take things into my own hands. And then she said it to his face. So he now knows, okay, I have a woman who doesn't respect me.
Yeah.
And why, if a woman doesn't respect you, why is she with you? Because it's paying dividends as well. Yeah. So in that moment, it became very clear it was over for her, and he then found his childhood friend from who he had this separation, who didn't know anything about the ongoings of the House of Gucci. Someone who he could just be the successful man to. And that's where it failed, is there was too much vulnerability in his own house.
Are you about to cigar? Oh, I'm sorry. Please. I agree. I think for me is that he was a bookworm. He was learned. He was whatever, but he didn't have that like instinctual know-how. Yeah. And that business, like sometimes I think in the movie also it was referenced, like sometimes it takes an outsider to see what others don't. And she ends up having that conversation with Domenico. And I think when I was talking, once again, when we were discussing the movie at home, I was saying how, like, imagine you're working your job and all of a sudden I come along and I just instinctually know how to do it better. You're going to be like, okay, that's great, but can you like leave and never come back? Because I've worked really hard at this and it doesn't come naturally to me. And I think this shows because especially at the end when he's sitting around that round table and they're like, listen, you're not the manager type. And he's like, but I've given you Tom Ford. And they're like, yeah, but what about the antiques? What about the penthouse? What about the yachts? What about, you're spending so much money on these Gucci accounts because you don't understand that we're trying to keep the brand afloat at this point. And you don't have the business mindset that you need in order to be the CEO of this company. And I think ultimately too, I agree with you, that she jumped the gun. You know, she came out with the truth, like right off the bat. She got frustrated. But I think also ultimately, if she had not done that, they would have fallen apart anyway, because she continued to see, because remember, I'm piggybacking off of that gold vision digger. She had the gold vision. She had the intuitive know-how of where Gucci should go next. And especially at the end too, when she says, you did what I said, you bought them out. You did like, I'm good. Look, I have value. I have input. I have the know-how instinctually to help you. Why won't you help me help you? I'm begging for you to love me and for us to reconcile, but also I'm like showing my worth to you over and over and over again, and you don't seem to see that anymore, you know. And I think
Because worth is so like not dependent on that.
Right. And I think ultimately, had she even not had that fight with him, I think they would have fallen apart anyway, because she was better. She was better than him at strategically knowing, you know, this is a battlefield, right? And she strategically knew what to do and how to get people in the right places to get where she wants to go and where she wanted Gucci to go. Mm-hmm. And I think he couldn't have handled that, because he was all about the name, you know. And he's like, I'm not a monster. You didn't marry a monster. You married a Gucci. Mm-hmm. So, and especially at the beginning of the movie where she says the Gucci name was so sweet, right? Mm-hmm. So prestige and this and so sweet. And little did I know, or little do people know, that, you know, they'll kill themselves over it. So that was my take on their sort of the demise, the end of their relationship. But aside from the awful music, they did do a really good job at making us bond to the naivete of their romance, their bad romance.
Oh.
They were dancing in the dark, so to speak, with their romance. They had to use a lot of telephones.
Okay, you're starting
in order to. Oh, sorry, spiraling. Got it.
The weather girl. Did you see that weather girl with the
Yes, it was so good. It was so good. But yeah, I mean, that's why multi-layered. That's why I would give it the 7.7, 7.8 that I gave it.
Yeah,
But I would like to note, and perhaps this is another video, is that Ridley Scott historically has put movies surrounding strong female characters in his repertoire. So mm-hmm. Alien was the first time in an action movie, Sigourney Weaver, that a female was the center of an action movie. She was not a damsel in distress. She was not, you know, anything, especially with Cameron picking up an Alien 2, continuing that sort of trope of this lead strong female character. Ridley Scott also, Blade Runner, that one doesn't have a strong female character, but in The Last Duel, which I am excited to watch, as I have seen some background things about that movie too, it does have the female perspective as being sort of the key to the movie. So I think he this is another movie perhaps, or I would love to compare it, right, to some of his other movies and see how he really treated the strength of this character and how he treats, you know, the strength of his female characters in some of those films.
Okay.
That seems to be, you know, that seems to be kind of, I don't know, becoming his calling card, maybe has been his calling card, but would be pretty interesting to see, you know.
Well, the other question I have is like, did this, you know, when people try to force a like female empowerment movie where it doesn't really belong, does this work as a, like, were there any moments that took you out as being too preachy or anything like that? Or did it seem like a natural escalation of things? Was Patricia believable as the mastermind behind all of this?
Like I said, from doing brief reading, yeah, I believed it because, you know, like I said, I saw a few interviews with her. I kind of read the story. I was sort of familiar with it. I believed for me, it made sense but I took the little cues, you know, I'm all about like nuances. So I took the cue of the brown dress with the white polka dots. That to me, automatically, I was like, oh, I see what you're trying to do here. I see what you're trying to say here. I took the cues of her being like, oh, Gucci, you know, like a light bulb has gone off. I took the cue of her having that awful lunch with his dad and how desperately she's looking at a painting of Gustav Klimt, actually. And she says, is it a Picasso? It's you know, she's trying so desperately to kind of to be that square peg in a round hole, to find her place to jam herself in. And I understand her seeing the opportunity and to be the driving force of that opportunity when she sees that her husband is quite malleable in the beginning.
That's what I always didn't get, is he was so okay with her being the way she is in the beginning. And then suddenly in front of his friends, it was suddenly embarrassing, right?
Yeah. And I think suddenly, incrementally, as she's like, it's time to take out the trash. And when she's like, Gucci needs new blood and this and that, I think she is implanting those seeds. And he's like, listen, you're going to have to step up or shut up. And I'm not in the mood to be poor. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not in the mood to walk away from this empire. Are you really going to just walk away? You know? And I think she is quite, you can say, manipulative in trying to reconcile him with his dad, which is what you said as well, when she names her daughter after his mom. And
so Meghan Markle, isn't it?
Yeah. And so I think she's very good at what she does. And at least in the movie, they made her seem very quite kind of smart and cunning and quick on her feet. You know, especially when she's, once again, when she's with Paolo and he's like, no, I won't tell you the secret. And she's like, okay, let's talk about your drawings. Let's connect another time. And so she kind of, you know, baits him a little bit more and says, no, okay, whatever. You know, she's smart. She's very smart.
Yeah. Very, very interesting situation in general. One thing I wanted to discuss with you is, do you feel like everyone got morally what was coming to them?
Yeah, I do think that they did Aldo and Paolo. I think they did them dirty. You know, I mean, the old man was trying. He's the one that was bringing them into the fold. Right. He's the one that was, you know, and to have him just, tax evasion. Okay. You know, and Paolo to manipulate him and really strip him. You know, they knew what they were doing. His back was against the wall. He had to sell his shares. Like he said, look at where I live. I live in squalor. So, and to see how he still ended up living in squalor, died, you know, poor in London. I think that was sad. It was sad like we said, the whole scene of them giving up the company was quite upsetting. But ultimately, I think that Maurizio, you know, he sucked Patrizia dry, and then he was like, I'm ready to ascend. You stay away and you don't know, you know, and I'm sick and tired of cleaning up your messes. I think that was not the right thing to do to someone that has been with you since the beginning, right? You worked for her father, they took you in, and she's worked so hard to get you to this place, and then you're just on to the next.
We say Patricia was working hard to ascend her little family unit by betraying the rest of the family unit. I feel like what she did to them, she karmically fucked herself up.
Oh yeah.
Then what happened? Yeah. Obviously, like her husband, who loves to keep his hands clean, saw her for the monster she was, and then he in turn, you know, distanced himself from her. And then for what he did, for the cold way he treated her, you know, you shouldn't, you know, I'm not like saying it's okay to murder someone who does that to you, but the way she was, she so coldly and callously let her go and wouldn't even give like closure to his ex-wife.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
even go to his daughter's recital, she said. You know, like, why? This is a different level. And even when she said, you know, she misses you, look at the love we've made, look at this photo album, you know, to be like, I saw her 2 weeks ago. She needs her dad. Like, what a terrible, heartless way to, and we don't know if it's true, right? But as a character, like, what a hard way to respond to someone that is basically saying, like, your child wants to see you. Like,
well, it's clear that Patricia was kind of using the child. But
you know.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, also, boy, was that rough watching her. Like, I could tell when the marriage was over and that nothing she could do, nothing would reignite that look of love again. It was just so destroyed. And honestly, her mistake, in my opinion, was, you know, when she's leaving for the first time in the snow and she looks back with the crying eyes, I'm like, and then she continues to go farther with the mascara eyes and just being a total mess and turning into like a stalker.
Obsessing. Like, she's obsessive. Yeah.
And I'm like, you can still obsess, but you can still play it. You can play it differently.
Wow.
I think I wondered why she chose to play it like that, because did she think that her vulnerability would counteract all of that manipulation he had seen before? Or was she just really so damn out of control that she couldn't, like, see it? I think she was so in denial. She couldn't see it. She didn't realize the moment it was over. So she didn't, to her, it happened like out of nowhere. And when something happens out of nowhere, you're like in denial. You're like, no, if I just act happy and if I make him go through the motions and show him the album and happy family, like, she was just trying so hard for something that was so dead because of so much denial. I don't know. There was just so many things that just screamed at, that I just related to.
A little too personal. Yeah.
It was rough. It was rough.
And my last question for you, because I do have to go.
Okay.
My last question for you, just a real like a 2-minute yay or nay. Should Gaga win an Oscar for this performance? Is this an Oscar-worthy performance? Now, we haven't seen the other nominees yet, so, but do you think this is a Oscar nomination worthy performance? And our friendship does depend on this answer. So I do want to just really reiterate the gravity of the situation, and hope that you proceed accordingly. You know, follow your heart, but also don't follow your heart, and just really follow your mind and the reason and logic, and weigh things out. You know, wait it out a little bit, wait out.
So I can't answer at this moment. I will need some deliberation.
Okay, that's okay. All right. You don't think this is worthy of an Oscar nomination? Okay.
It's not, it's, again, I don't think it's her. It was just, listen, if you were cast in Barney and Friends, and you were the best Barney friend Barney has ever had, would that merit, it wouldn't make sense to attach an Oscar nom to such a campy film. Does that make sense?
Well, we'll see.
This film was a fucking joke, but
and on that note, I think she's going to get nominated. I think taking it as a, you know, this is her second movie. This is her second movie ever, you know, for how good of a job that she did. And yes, you can argue costumes, you can argue, but if you close your eyes and you listen to her throughout the movie, or if you pretend she's just talking to a green screen the whole time, you know, is it good acting? Is it genuine acting? I think so. So
no, the acting was good. It's not, it's just like, why put a gold sticker on shit, in my opinion.
Well, we'll see what the Academy has to say.
And even if we pluck out Lady Gaga and isolate her and just watch Lady Gaga, which is what an Oscar nom is, I don't know how awards work. I doubt it's actually anything to do with who's better. It's about who campaigns the best. So if she runs a good campaign and she does her 100 people in a room speech, I'm sure that that'll jog something in people and they'll vote for her.
Well, she's actually nominated for, I think, a couple Grammys, because the Grammy nominations just came out. So her Love for Sale album with Tony Bennett is nominated for a number of Grammys. So, I mean, the girl ain't losing sleep. She ain't missing a beat.
She's great.
She's great. I think she's great. I think if she doesn't get nominated, it'll be fine too. I'm not going to be upset about it, but I will just set the entire stadium, whatever they host this Oscars in, on fire. I think that's reasonable, right? And
you need to bring the lighter fluid.
You're like, I'll be there, obviously.
No, I will reluctantly not be there, but I will watch and I'll like look at help you, because I don't believe in the vision. I just believe in protecting you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I do appreciate that. But yeah, I think overall I did enjoy it. I got some thoughts out of it, right? And
I mean, it gave us like this hour 40-minute video, so it definitely, even with it definitely made me think. It's funny because there was a Kings game, and I was walking home, and I was just like, I was still reeling about this movie. By the way, we finally won. Like, we stopped being losers. We've been losing all, and it was to Portland. So weirdly enough, we won. But yeah, I was thinking about this. I had to scribble. I had so many thoughts. And
right.
There are some movies you go into and you walk out and this literally felt like nothing, you know? And
well, and I think most people, Yeah, I think most people don't analyze, they don't analyze movies like we do. I don't know, maybe they do, but I think there's some good elements to this, and I think that there were other elements that were severely lacking. And if they would have just fixed that in post, they would have made a much stronger candidate for an Oscar nomination, or for, just enjoyable viewing experience.
They should have either just gone full camp or full serious. It was rough for me. But you're right, and why didn't they call us? Why didn't they call us?
Nobody calls us. Nobody calls us. They don't call. They're too busy. Busy. It's like nobody calls us. It's like, whatever.
I mean, I'm available.
I know, for free. Like, I'll help you for free. Like, you're in such an echo chamber of everybody saying yes to you. That's how this happens. And there's nobody in the room, because it only takes one person out of 100 people. So there's nobody in the room to be like, just as a thought, that sucks. Everybody knows that, right? Like, that shouldn't be in there.
Well, they're not like Marvel. I assume they don't focus group their movies. So, it's...
Yeah, that's true.
I'm kind of glad
But
that
they preview. They preview.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to be invited to those previews and, like, give quick...
Listen, I'm a very busy woman, but I don't like atrocities like this coming through to the general audience. It's very insulting to us. So... I volunteer as tribute. You can give me a call. We'll set something up. We'll invite her too, and we'll tell you it straight, because this is just laughable. And as an American, I'm embarrassed. As a Belarusian, I kind of love to laugh at Americans, so it's fine either way.
So your rating? What was your final rating on this?
4 out of 10. Oh, maybe 5.5, whatever. It was like, again, under 5 is like I'm leaving, like Shang-Chi. I want to go home to my cats the entire time. What the fuck is this? I didn't like that.
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay.
5 out of 5, 5.5 out of 10. Wasn't really thinking about my cats. Was in the movie. So.
I respect that. I respect it.
Okay, friend. You have to go and enjoy Thanksgiving and like make a or whatever. You look like a turkey.
Yeah, I dressed up in like festive fall color just for you. Put on a sweater.
I should have done that. But see, I wasn't shooting at a movie in which there was like a theme or... Anyway, Egghead, I miss you.
I miss you too. Oh, buddy, miss you.
Don't ugly cry on camera, okay?
Don't ruin it. Okay, I love you. Let's stay in touch. Text me. So you're just staying home today. Is that what you're doing, right? Oh, no, you're going. Okay.
No,
I
have flowers I have to take to my mom. And
okay.
Yeah, it's...
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you later, Gator.
Okay, bye.
Sneaky little voyeurs. Come back next week for more. Bye.